Hey everybody, Josh Runquist here for Heavy Debriefings, and it's time for a brand new episode of Backwards Marathon. And considering here in Minnesota we went from being in nearly 50-degree weather to now getting about 5 to 8 inches of snow as I'm looking outside right now, might as well go back into one last taste of winter, hopefully, until the next season rolls around, and talk about the most wintry of winter bands, Agalloch. Agalloch had 5 amazing albums, and of course EPs and splits and all that other good stuff that they do, but I'm just taking a look at those 5 albums. But they also decided to do something that left a lot of people very sad. Break up right after their first huge North American tour. Of course, there was a lot of infighting that was going on. It led to other members forming other bands. A member of one particular project saying some things that probably led to some instant regret and has led to him stop making music entirely. Although I will say he did apologize, which is why I'm still able to listen to them. There's a lot of bands and musicians out there who do things that they will not apologize for. If you apologize, I might give you a chance. Notable exceptions do apply. And of course, the other members of the band don't speak for that one particular member of the band either. So all in all, it's a big hubbub. Do what you want, listen to the music that you want to, I'll listen to the music that I want to. That said, let's get into the first album. First up, we got Pale Folklore, released in 1999, and this album came so very, very close to making it into my top 10 albums of 1999. If you haven't checked out that series, I highly recommend you do so on this very channel. But Pale Folklore is arguably one of the best debut albums in folk metal, black metal, atmospheric black metal, whatever you would like to call Agalloch. They crafted this sound so perfectly on this debut album. There's so many great songs on here. I mean, the whole opening suites of She Painted Fire Across the Skyline is just tremendous. Hallways of Enchanted Ebony is a all-time favorite song for me. Dead Winter Days, of course, as well. And of course, The Melancholy Spirit, which is probably my favorite song off the album. Yeah, just everything about this incorporates all of the darker, evil stuff that I love so much about black metal, all of the stuff that I love about folk metal, and it makes it fit so perfectly together when it comes to that North American, specifically Portland, Oregon area feeling behind it. I'd be doing myself a total disservice if I gave this anything less than an A. Coming up next, we have one of the most important albums ever made in metal, The Mantle, released on August 13th, just a week before my birthday in 2002. And this album takes everything that was so perfect about Pale Folklore and turns it on its head and makes it even better. The production is so much better, everything feels so much grander and fuller. The songs are just perfection on this album, and they start to incorporate more of the post-rock feel on this album. The first time in the band's catalog to do so, even though it is the second album, it was the direction in the right way. I'm not the only one who feels that this is one of the most important albums in this kind of music, because I mean, it's number 1 across the board for so many people, and rightfully so. And it is easily the best album Agalloch ever made. Of course, other albums do come very, very close. But to say that The Mantle is anything less than an S is unforgivable. And you owe it to yourself to give this a chance. Post-rock, doom metal, folk metal, black metal, all fit together to create one of the greatest albums, not just of 2002, but one of the greatest albums ever made. Ashes Against the Grain comes out in 2006, the third album from Agalloch, and if you thought The Mantle was too grandiose, if you didn't like all the folk metal elements that really encapsulate the entire album, you may enjoy Ashes Against the Grain much more. This is, at least to me, the best sounding Agalloch album production-wise. And I know not everyone in the band kind of feels that way. They feel it's too polished. To me, I love being able to hear everything that's being recorded. So yeah, put that polish on there. Make it sound the best it possibly can in the right circumstances. And I think this was a great example. Again, this is another album where everything just sounds so perfect from start to finish. Limbs is easily one of the greatest openers to an album that's ever been created. Not unlike The Waves is actually the only music video Agalloch ever made, And of course, the suite at the very end, Our Fortress is Burning 1, 2, and 3, is just a perfect send-off to the album. Yeah, everything about this I feel is just fantastic. Not their best work, but so very, very close. And I'm not going to snap my fingers like I normally do with this one since there's only 5 albums. I'm just going to put it in the right order right away. And yeah, this goes at the top of A. Marrow of the Spirit is up next, coming out in 2010, and this is the most raw, the most earthy, the most evil-sounding album that Agalloch ever put out. As pretty much a complete opposite feeling of Ashes Against the Grain, where that felt so prim and proper and polished, this is the exact opposite. This is recorded on analog tape. It sounds the realest the band has ever sounded. And again, with everything that got put into this album, it just feels evil. It's so earthy, but very evil sounding. Into the Painted Grey is probably one of my favorite songs of all time, and it's my favorite song that incorporates any kind of black metal into it. It's just 12 minutes plus of pure and utter perfection, and that ending, oh, that ending. You just have to experience it for yourself. Ghost of Midwinter Fire is one of the best known Agalloch songs. I know a lot of people love that song, myself included. And of course the ending, which sounds like the soundtrack to a horror movie, To Drown. It really does sound like you're drowning when you're listening to the song, and if it puts a little bit of fear and God into you, I completely and utterly understand. This album is almost completely perfect in the Agalloch catalog. It just holds back a little bit because I feel like there's a little bit too much of the instrumentation going on at some moments, but it also fits completely with the album. But I feel like if they just would have cut just a little bit off of that, it would have been perfect. But that said, it still is pretty damn perfect to me, and I'm giving it an S. And finally, we have The Serpent and the Sphere coming out in 2014. I was very fortunate to be able to see Agalloch on this tour. It was the only time they came to Minnesota, and it's the only time that I'll ever be able to see them live, unfortunately. I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to be able to see them because they did a magnificent set list, especially for being able to see them for the first time. Yeah, I just think they knocked it out of the park with that show. So much to miss about that show. I miss the Triple Rock Social Club, I miss Agalloch, I miss going to shows, I miss having friends. But hey, we're talking about The Serpent and the Sphere here. I just gotta be honest, I think it's my least favorite. I think that it did so much right. I think this was everything that they were kind of looking for on Ashes Against the Grain, but done with different lyrical concepts and changing a few things around, especially the production. Like, it feels so crisp and clear, but it doesn't sound like it was too polished. It sounds awesome. It's a perfect sounding album. I just wish I liked the music behind it a little more. I don't know, like, maybe it was because of just like looking in hindsight and realizing the band was kind of falling apart at this point. And there was so much that was going wrong, and after they do their first full-blown North American tour, they fell apart. Maybe I just have some bad strings attached to it, but there's nothing wrong with the actual album. I just feel like they put out 4 masterpieces before this album came out, and this is the only one that I wouldn't necessarily call a masterclass. Or a masterpiece, if you will. It is still a great album worth checking out. It's a little more spacey, a little more celestial than what you would hear elsewhere, but it's got the right amount of folk, right amount of black metal, and it's fused together quite well. But still, all of that said, the previous 4 albums just knocked this one to the ground, and I'm not going to give it a D, I'm not going to give it a C, but I think it is a proper B. And let's go over this again. Even though this is a short video, let's just go through it in order. In the B ranking is The Serpent and the Sphere. In the A ranking is Pale Folklore and Ashes Against the Grain. And in the S tier, I have Marrow of the Spirit, and of course my favorite album from Agalloch, and it's probably yours as well, and understandably so, The Mantle. And there you go, my backwards marathon on Agalloch. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this list, if you're checking out the band for the first time, if you hate this list, or if you want to tell me how wrong I am for my own personal opinion, let me know in the comments down below, and tell me what your personal ranking is. And of course, like, comment, share, subscribe, check out the past videos that I've done so far, and continue to support Heavy Debriefings in any way that you feel fit. And until the next backwards marathon, top 10 list, interview, review, or any other kind of video that I put up here on the Heavy Debriefings YouTube channel for Heavy Debriefings. This is Josh Runquist saying, see ya.